going to be looking at common fractions. The reason why we talk about fractions is because whole numbers don't always account for every measurement in real life. So that's why we're looking at fractions, because they're able to help us understand how to equate a certain number and a value attached to a certain measurement. Right. So what is a common fraction? Basically, it's part of a whole or parts of a collection. There are certain types of fractions that you can find, right? But before we go that, I want to illustrate something to help you understand why we need to use fractions. So we've got this glass, right? Whenever we pour something in this glass, it doesn't always show a perfect measurement of a total fluid glass. So we need to understand the in between measurements, the other measurements that do not form a whole. Like when we pour this amount, it's a bit, let me just do this a bit. We can represent this amount as 1/4. And if we pour again, we can represent this amount as a half. And if we pour again, we can represent this amount as 3/4. And then if we try and fill the whole glass, we can represent this whole amount as a whole, right? So that's why we need fractions, to understand what numbers mean to us. Now we are looking at the 3 forms of fractions. So the first fraction that we normally work with is something called a proper fraction. So basically it has a numerator which is smaller than its denominator, which is basically represented by something like a half, right? And then we've got an improper fraction. An improper fraction basically has the larger number as a numerator, and it's got the smaller number as a denominator, which basically makes it improper. So we can maybe find a number like 7 with the numerator of 17 and a denominator of 8. That will make the fraction an improper fraction, which is illustrated by this example. And then the third type of form that we find a fraction written in is a mixed fraction, which has a whole integral part, and a proper fraction, which is illustrated by a whole number and fractions. And then we've got here 3, a whole 3, and then we've got a 5 as a numerator, and then we've got an 8 as a denominator. So that's the form that we write a mixed fraction in. Alright.